Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Stephen Moore absolutely wrecks this know-nothing reporter on CNN who has no clue what Trump is actually trying to do with the Federal Reserve and with the tariffs. Let's dive in.
Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and Lowe's came to the White House on Monday. They warned Trump about supply chain interruptions. They warned him about negative effects on consumers. He's been hearing concerns about the negative effects of his talking about Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, the way he has been talking about it. Did that kind of counsel that he received help him soften his tone?
Well, let me say that, there are problems in the supply chain, no question about it, with the tariff talk. And I think that's another reason that Trump is basically looking for ways to reduce those tariffs so that we don't see higher prices when we go to Walgreens or we go to Home Depot and these other stores. With respect to Jerome Powell, I would say that we were all outraged, that is, those who favor Trump, by the speech that was given by Jerome Powell last week. It was really, I've been following this for 40 years. I thought it was the most outrageous partisan attack against a new president that I've ever seen. And I think it was out of bounds. And it didn't take into account all the positive things that Trump are doing on the economy. Now, that being said, and people like myself were saying, Jerome Powell has to go. But the markets clearly don't want Jerome Powell out. They don't want him out right now.
And Stephen, I just want to be clear. Jerome Powell was reflecting what a lot of just economists are saying. So if what you're looking for is just straight shooting from Jerome Powell, that really did seem to be what it was. Separately, I want to ask you about the Treasury Secretary Bessent saying
hold on,
he said.
Let me push you back. Hold on. Let me make a point about this. Okay, that's a fair point. A lot of the economists and a lot of the businesses were saying, these policies were harmful. But my God, I mean, Joe Biden came in and spent $5 trillion, sent inflation up to 25% increase in prices. Jerome Powell never made that kind of speech in fact, he accommodated Biden's policies. So I think that's something that really angered us. I mean, I challenge you to find anything that Jerome Powell ever said criticizing Biden's reckless policies.
I think you heard certainly concerns about inflation, and you saw reflections on decisions that were made about interest rates when it came to inflation. We certainly saw that, right? We certainly saw that. But I want Stephen. I want to get this question in, and we're going to have to wrap it up if we can't get past this. Clear.
Jerome Powell was the one who allowed the inflation to go up by 9% in 2022, which was the highest rate of inflation we've had in 30 years. And so it's hard to defend what he did back then, in my opinion.
Okay, well, I will say there was massive spending. There were concerns raised about inflation, and there was also the navigation of a soft landing to avoid a recession. We have to be clear about that. That doesn't mean that people weren't hurt by economic policy, to be clear. Just finally, real quick, the Treasury Secretary said America first isn't America alone. But, Stephen, that's going to be news to a lot of countries. Is it too late for that message from the Trump administration?
No, not at all. Look, I mean, Trump believes in free and fair trade. He understands the global trading system. And I believe that this will be resolved sometime in the next 3 months or so. And once it is resolved, I think we'll have freer and fairer trade, which will lead to more global integration. And everyone comes out ahead. The only thing I would say, Brianna, for people who may oppose Trump's policies, and I'm more of a free trade guy than he is, but all Trump is saying to these other countries is lower your tariffs in a way that we have a level playing field. I'm not so sure why people think that that's an unfair position to take. It's putting America first and saying, look, we've lowered our tariffs. China, Japan, UK, the EU, you're going to have to lower your tariffs too to create a fairer trading system.
See, there's also a parallel bit of history going on at the same time. So not only are we the dominant economy, but we're also the biggest consuming economy. Usually those two paths intertwine, but we're not considering them linked here. What I'm getting at is we are a consuming economy. We are mostly from consumers. So the line of thought has been, let's make it easier for us to consume goods. Let's keep everyone else's goods cheap because our labor keeps on rising in price and we can't match the rest of the world who is protecting their own stuff while making it cheaper for us to access. That's good only up until a certain point, and folks, we're at the end of that railroad line, okay? We either got to figure out another line to get on, or this train is going to come to a terrible and screeching halt, and that's the good version of this story. So that's why Trump cares about tariffs, because that can bring in industry back into the United States. That can make it more tolerable to make these jobs work, and it would make it easier for us to compete against other nations. We are no longer in that position where we are also the dominant creating economy. We're now only the dominant consuming economy. We must be creative again. Make America great again, people. MACA. Hey, y'all. Here's the deal. Gold loves President Trump. Under Trump's first term, the price of gold soared 53%, and the price of silver jumped 51%. Since the start of the second term, gold has skyrocketed even higher, breaking records and even outperforming stocks. Here's what I like about precious metals like gold and silver. They have been used as a store of value for centuries. Governments can't easily manipulate it. They are used as hedges against market risk and, of course, against inflation. That's why I partnered with the amazing people over at Goldco. Goldco is an award-winning precious metals company. They are fans of this show, and they have helped millions of Americans just like y'all to purchase over $3 billion in gold and silver. Right now, you can get a free copy of their 2025 gold and silver kit. On top of that, you might also qualify for their amazing unlimited silver bonus offer. So don't wait on this. Go to politibrawlgold.com to learn more. That's politibrawlgold.com or call 855-644-GOLD. But the funniest part of this video actually came at the very beginning. Notice what 4 companies got brought up. Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and Lowe's. Home Depot and Lowe's have not been doing well ever since the lockdowns. And that's because the price of their goods and services have both risen and depreciated at these weird intervals that's made it much harder for them to work as companies. Then the other two are very interesting because first off, Target. Target is not anyone's favorite right now. It used to be for the longest time. It used to be the anti-Walmart, the upscale Walmart. Well, they ended up going with a line of clothing that says, hey, the Lord of Darkness, Satan, respects my pronouns. And it ticked off the evangelicals, who are still a political force here in this country. My family is part of that, and they decided to stop shopping at Target. And I don't think I've been back in too often ever since. And so that started hurting their profits. And then they decided, you know what, it's time to remove this DEI nonsense. And let's see if we can get these people to come back in. Well, the lefties screeched, ranted, and raved, and then lied to black constituents that Target does not want their money anymore. And so black constituents and rich white liberals now no longer shop at Target, and their numbers have plummeted. Walmart, on the other hand, has to deal with the actual issues that this anchor was smart enough to bring up, but not smart enough to fully understand. After all, CNN doesn't understand politics, and they definitely don't understand logistics. But supply chains are a problem, and that's something that has been an issue for the other 3 companies, and Walmart also in particular. Supply chain problems hurt everyone during the lockdowns, and guess what? They don't want that to repeat again. And notice that last little phrase, they don't want that to repeat again. That is exactly why the chair of the Federal Reserve is going to stay in his position for at least a little while longer before Trump finally edges him out. Because no one wants to be left holding the bag. The people at the Federal Reserve have known ever since 2008 that if they change course and either raise interest rates in order to make some to freeze up some cash in some areas and expand it in others, and instead they want to keep those interest rates low so people keep on borrowing. Okay? Eventually, remember how the two little rails were working here? Eventually, there's no more money for people to even attempt to borrow. There's going to be no more collateral. There's nothing you can use to basically hedge your bets in case in case things fail. And so no one wants to be left holding the bag when they finally shut off the easy money supply. No one wants that on their record. Well, folks, that might just be coming. And this won't be some ridiculous theory where this time that, oh, we're shutting off this pipeline on purpose because we're bleeding money. No, this is we might need to stop this so we can actually force a market shift, and that way America can get better later on. It's like having chemotherapy to take out a tumor. It's going to hurt you in the meantime, but you've got a good chance of making it into the future. And so that's what the tariffs are ultimately about here. They're trying to make free trade, actually on fair trade. They're trying to make free trade fair trade, okay? Then there's these organizations, these big companies, these retail companies that keep on wanting to sell things, but no, if rates get raised and if there's supply chain issues, it's going to be even more problems on their books. Well, guess what? We've been having those for 5 years now. You can't blame all this nonsense on tariffs. At this point, you got to figure out how to adapt, buddy. And so it's no skin off my nose for some of these corporations to lose their money, particularly ones like Target. At a certain point, some of them kind of deserve it, and that's sort of the way of things. Companies make it, some companies don't. There's a reason why you don't see too many Sears left over. That's why so many malls have gone under. They haven't been able to adapt. Businesses that can will succeed, and an American economy that can adapt will succeed. We can't adapt, however, when the world continues to use us as easy money and only as a consumer economy. That is not sustainable. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politbrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.